So let's continue the offseason conversation with NBA writers Bill Reiter and Colin Ward-Henninger. Colin, what's the chance that Lillard gets traded this offseason?
I mean, you're putting me on the spot here, Jeremy. At this point, I think that the Damian Lillard trade talk has died down a little bit. So I'm going to say 10%. And the only reason I give it that 10 is that if they're unable to make moves that please Damian Lillard in terms of free agent signings, potential trades, to put enough around him to make him think that they can contend, at that point, I think Lillard might just ask out. But to me, that point isn't going to happen until at least into the season, a couple months. Then Lillard gets to see what his team looks like, how competitive they are in the Western Conference. Once they hit that point, if they look like they're still going to be floundering around the bottom of the league, at that point, I think Lillard might ask out. So for me, this offseason, I say 10%, but I think once we get into the season, that chances are going to be a little bit higher.
100% agree with Colin. Everything I've heard from everyone I've talked to around the NBA is there's very little to almost no expectation that Lillard will be traded in the summer, in the offseason. Now, there's some variables that are interesting. There's an ownership situation where there is certainly, talking to sources, some difference of opinion, the degree to which this ownership group, it's the same group, but it's new folks who are in charge. The former owner passed away a few years ago, are really committed and interested in paying attention. And if that's true, it means Joe Cronin, who's the new GM over the last year, has a lot of say, and he's just a new figure that folks aren't sure what he wants to do. Now, I'll be a little spicier than Colin. Colin, you went 10%, right? I'm going to go all the way up to 12% that Damian Lillard could be traded this offseason, because there are some other factors. If Lillard, as Colin just said, comes to the decision, and he hasn't yet, but decides, can't win here, these aren't the pieces, I'm about to turn 32 over the next few weeks, I got to be somewhere else. If that switch gets flipped, and it hasn't for him, he's been very loyal to Portland, things could accelerate. But I think Colin's right. We're in a holding pattern, and every person I've talked to, every source that I've run this by, thinks that Lillard will eventually play somewhere else, but that move, whenever it happens, is not imminent.
All right, so according to you guys, an 88 to 90% chance that Lillard is with Portland when they start next season. By the way, 7th pick in the upcoming NBA draft next week. Colin, okay, so let's say that you're a general manager who does want to add Lillard. Give us a trade proposal that you'd throw out there for him.
Yeah, let's remember that I said I only think there's going to be a 10% chance that this could happen. But if it does happen, I think a sneaky team that might be interested in Lillard is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it looks like, they have a really good young core out there with Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. You look at what D'Angelo Russell did for them in the playoffs, it wasn't great. He almost couldn't stay on the floor at times. So I think the Wolves might look into some sort of trade package to get Lillard, and they could send D'Angelo Russell out, who's an expiring contract and matching salary, along with Malik Beasley, who's kind of a, middling level player who can keep them afloat, and Jaden McDaniels, who's a really promising young defensive prospect. And then, of course, the draft picks. You're going to try to get those picks as far out as possible if you're Portland, because obviously if you're trading Lillard, this is a full rebuild situation. So let's go with a 2025 and 2027 first-round pick. That allows the Blazers to rebuild, clean the slate on salary. That allows the Minnesota Timberwolves to get an absolute superstar to put next to Towns and Edwards and really make a push in the Western Conference. So, the chances of this happening are probably pretty slim, but as I'm looking at it, I think it makes a lot of sense for both sides if it comes to this.
I love this idea. Maybe we can get Leonardo DiCaprio to inception this into Joe Cronin's mind. I'm not sure. I'm with Colin. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but to see it up on the screen is a beautiful thing. And the thing about it that I think is interesting and appealing, and this is going to have to be the key ingredient if any trade like this goes down, is that Lillard has to be sold on the notion whatever move he makes is going to benefit him in the short term. And as much as the Timberwolves have been teasing us for years, and they have, if you put Dame, who we know can close, who we know is a winner, on a team with Karl-Anthony Towns, you have to think, and it's an if they click, if it works, if the rest of that organization can get in the right direction, that would be a really fascinating combination and maybe a dangerous one.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.